Welcome back to another episode of the Grace-Filled Leader podcast. Now, just to warn you, today's episode might make some of you squirm a little in your seats. Many of us tend to be overachievers, people pleasers, and perfectionists. We function at a high level of integrity and accountability. That's really great, and it's probably contributed to some of our success by the world's standards. But is there a point at which it's costly? Do you sometimes get paralyzed by your perfectionism? Well, today we're talking about 3 reasons why we should be willing to accept B+ work, heck, even A- work. As I work with women to create more balance in their lives, to reclaim more of their time for what truly matters, this pattern of perfectionism is often a recurring theme. If you can relate, and if you're ready to dig a little deeper into patterns that may be stealing your sense of peace and time freedom, connect with me at gracefilledleader.com. That's gracefilledleader.com. Links are also in the show notes. You're going to want to turn up the volume on this episode, my friends. I know there will be some kernels of freedom for you in this message. Welcome to the Grace-Filled Leader podcast. Do you want better work-life balance? Do you get stuck in patterns of perfectionism and people-pleasing? Have you always been an overachiever but never really feel good enough, no matter how much outward success you achieve? Do you want more time for the things that matter most? Hi, I'm Tanya, a wife, mom, leader, certified Christian life coach, and Jesus lover. For most of my life, I tried to find worthiness through achievement. But no matter how hard I worked or how much I achieved, I never felt like I was enough. I was left burned out, empty, and exhausted. I had no time or energy for myself or my family. I needed balance. I needed peace. My life changed when I finally started to live like an unconditionally loved daughter of the King, saved by grace. This faith-led podcast will teach you time management, self-care routines, and practical leadership strategies to help you navigate life and leadership. If you're ready to become fueled by grace and free from people-pleasing, if you're ready to multiply your time and impact as a Christian woman in leadership, this podcast is for you. Unbutton your blazers and roll up your sleeves, sister friends. It's time to get after it. If you're like me, we've always believed we should strive for excellence in everything we do, right? And that isn't a bad thing. It's great to work toward your highest potential. That's how I was raised, and to be honest, that's how I raised my kids too. But do we take it too far sometimes? Do you ever get stuck and almost paralyzed by your need for perfection? Do you spend so much time trying to get or keep things perfect that you run out of time for making memories with your family, spending quiet time with the Lord, or just recharging with some rest and relaxation? Do you miss or almost miss deadlines due to perfectionism? Do you assume you or your efforts won't be good enough for someone else's standards? Do you sometimes stay quiet because you're afraid you might say something that will be negatively perceived or judged by others? Listen, I've been there, and it is a trap I still easily fall into. I was completely derailed this past weekend, largely in part due to my perfectionism. Several months ago, I'd been asked to be a speaker for a virtual conference that is coming up in the fall. It really is going to be a wonderful event, and I feel so blessed to be asked to be a part of it. Her Renewed Strength company is hosting a virtual women's conference for all women of faith. It's 100% free, and we want you to be there. The Renewed Conference is a virtual experience that exists to empower and equip Christian women to know God more and have boldness in their faith. If you want to grow in your walk with the Lord, if you want encouragement and practical guidance that will help you live out your calling, or if you just want to be healthier and simply enjoy a lifestyle that aligns with your faith as a Christian woman, this week-long virtual conference is especially for you. Click on my affiliate link in the show notes to register for free. The first sessions will go live Monday, November 6th and continue through Friday, November 11th, 2023. But back to how this pertains to the topic today. We were supposed to have our presentation prepared and uploaded by September 1st. And the host had explained that she would be using a platform for the conference that I wasn't accustomed to. So I assumed, never do this, that I needed to wait to record my presentation until we had access to this new platform. I had intended to record it long before September 1st. I wanted to be sure I had plenty of time to record it and edit it. Well, we got into budget season at work, which is always really hectic, and I hadn't yet done my presentation recording. It totally fell off my radar. Then, on August 31st, we received a reminder email about our presentations being due the following day, a day when I was supposed to be traveling to Canada for spending the holiday weekend with my family, including my kids and my parents. And I hadn't even started the presentation. Yikes. This is just not my typical MO, people. I am typically not a procrastinator. Well, I thought I'm going to bust out my slides tonight and record the presentation in the morning before I leave for Canada. So I got my presentation slides done the night of the 31st, and I got up Friday morning to record the presentation. And my technology won't work. My access to my presentation in Canva was not working, and Canva had a message saying that there was known service outages and issues and that they were attempting to resolve the issue as soon as possible. Oh my word, what was I going to do? So I had to email the host and tell her my situation, which was already embarrassing enough that I had waited until the very deadline to even attempt recording. She was so very gracious. I told her I would do my very, very best to get it submitted by that night or the next day. She reassured me that that would be just fine. Well, finally the tech started working, but several hours after I had hoped. And every time I started to record, the dogs would start barking or the phone would ring. Then I started getting text messages from my family because we were supposed to be leaving to go to Canada so that we could get there and get across the water to our island before dark. I was getting so stressed out. I wanted this presentation to be both professional and high quality. I wanted to make a good impression. I felt like I was failing at all of the above. So I finally got the presentation recorded, but it was way too long and I didn't have time to edit it at home prior to leaving. I decided I would do the editing and submit it later that night while I was in Canada. Now I was really good and stressed out about everything. I was feeling rushed and probably forgetting things to pack up in the car. I was nervous that we were going to be going across the water in the dark, which I knew would make my parents nervous. I was worried that I would not get my presentation submitted. I was worrying about what everyone was thinking about me. I wanted everything to be perfect. Our weekend, our travel, our meals, my presentation, and it felt like none of it was going to be anywhere close to perfect. Well, we made it safely to our island, but it was really late at night by the time we got in and got everything unloaded and put away. I was exhausted. I sat down and I looked at my presentation and realized it was nearly 20 minutes longer than the requested length. There was no way I could edit it enough to cut out 20 minutes and still have it flow smoothly. So I decided I was going to re-record the episode the next day. Well, that was a disaster. I had nothing to do my hair or makeup, the lighting was terrible, and I had a house full of people and 4 dogs. Besides that, there were too many things competing for internet, so my internet kept cutting out and affecting the quality of the recording. I tried for over 12 hours to make another acceptable recording. I just couldn't get it to be something I was comfortable submitting. So I went back to my original plan and started to edit out as much as I could without it sounding disjointed. Still, it was nearly 10 minutes longer than requested, but I was stuck. I was either going to submit what I had or wait an entire week to record a new presentation, which would really put me behind schedule, and I didn't want to be disrespectful of the host's timeline. So I submitted all the material. It wasn't perfect, but it was authentic. I explained that the length was a bit longer than requested. I apologized for that and for my failure to submit earlier. I said that I was willing to do a new take if I needed to get the time down further, but that it might be a week before I could do that. I did my very best to communicate with humility and grace, and then I just had to release it. I had to submit something that wasn't exactly as requested. That was really uncomfortable for me because I want to please. I want to be perceived well. In reality, I guess I want perfection, which is a fallacy. Now, I tell you that really long-winded story, and I thank you for your grace and patience as you listen to all of the details, because it paints a picture of the consequences of perfectionism. In this situation, even my procrastination was tied to perfectionism. I didn't want to be perceived as stupid or ignorant, so I didn't ask the clarifying question early on about the recording platform. It turned out that I could use the recording platform I was accustomed to using, and the other new platform would just be a hosting platform for the conference. I could have done my recording months in advance. Then, when I did finally sit down to record, I wanted to be sure I had good lighting and my hair and my makeup were done. I wanted to appear professional, and my raw, authentic self would just not quite line up with that image. I had to appear a bit more perfect than I actually am. Then I needed to have the message be the exact perfect length while maintaining the integrity and quality of the story. In attempting for perfection in all of these things, I completely missed the deadline. I was miserable with stress for a day and a half, and I missed an entire day of the holiday weekend with my family. They had to feed and entertain themselves while I tried to perfect something that kept failing. What in the world was God trying to teach me in this struggle? I was attempting to do God-honoring work, and the enemy was crapping all over my parade. Well, here's what happened. I prayed and I asked God to just help me see what I needed to do and help me to surrender this whole situation. I was already 24 hours beyond my deadline, and I had done nothing. He led me to just step away and enjoy dinner with my family. He directed me to just quit fighting with it and work with what I had. So that's what I did. I let go of the need for it to be perfect. I did my best with what I had, but I felt like I was submitting B+ work. But had I continued to struggle for A+ work, the consequences were just too high. I would have lost more time with my family. I would have further disrespected the host's timeline, and ultimately, I would have kept women from hearing a message that someone needs to hear. God gave me the opportunity to speak for a reason. There is something in my less than perfect message that someone needs to hear. Even if it's just one person, God wants her to hear it. She won't know or care about my perception of imperfection in putting it together. What matters is whatever work God intends to do through it. It is prideful and selfish to make any of this about me. I needed to be reminded that this work that I do is not at all about me. It doesn't start or end with me. I was called to honor God by serving women through my story. There is nothing about my story that is perfect. It is the messy that becomes the most impactful message. It's never the perfect story that speaks to hearts. It's the authentic and messy story that brings hope to another heart. So what I want you to learn from my example, from my mess, is that there are several reasons why it is necessary that you be willing to accept and turn in B+ work sometimes. First of all, perfection does not exist, and the struggle to find it is costly. It will cost you valuable life experiences. It will cost you your joy and memorable moments. Second, if you wait to share the work God anointed you for until it's perfect, you will be depriving the world of the message God has crafted to be delivered through you right now. And third, it's not about you, so don't make it about you. Our life and our service here is about partnership with God, not perfection on our own. Seek partnership with God, not perfection, my friends. His good and perfect will far surpasses our illusion of perfection. I hope that this message offers you some hint of freedom if you struggle with perfectionism. Remember that God uses your mess to spread His message. Don't be afraid to allow a little messy into your life. Until next time, my perfectly imperfect friends, may you be filled with gratitude and God's amazing grace. I pray this episode blessed you, spoke to you, or encouraged you in some way. If so, please share it with a friend and head on over to Apple Podcasts to leave me a review. That's the only way for me to know if you're enjoying the show. Nothing blesses me more than to hear from you. Also, come on over to our free Facebook community. This is a great place for us to support one another on our faith and leadership journeys. You can find the link to the group in the show notes or go to gracefilledleader.com/community. If you have questions or content ideas for the show, please send me a message on SpeakPipe or via email. Go to gracefilledleader.com/contact and leave a written or voice recorded message. I would love to know how I can best serve you on the podcast. Now to Him who can do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine, according to His power that is at work within us. Ephesians 3, verse 20. Until next time, my friends, God bless.